I never imagined that my life would become a silent battle, fought behind polite smiles and forced dinners. My name is Claire Bennett, and at 32 years old, I thought I had everything I wanted. A loving husband, Daniel, who is an architect with a calm demeanor and a passion for creating beautiful homes, and our baby girl, Sophie, who was the light of my life. But sometimes the greatest battles come not from outside forces, but from those closest to us. From the moment I stepped into Daniel's family, I felt the weight of expectations heavier than I could have anticipated. His mother, Margaret, carried an air of old-world elegance and unyielding authority. To her, Sophie was not just my daughter. She was an extension of the Bennett legacy, a legacy I was not born into and apparently did not belong to. It began subtly, compliments that felt like backhanded insults, suggestions thinly veiled as concern, Margaret's disapproval of my parenting style, my decision to breastfeed, my choice to return to work part-time, even the color of Sophie's nursery walls. All were met with a quiet but firm resistance. The first real crack appeared when Margaret offered to help by taking Sophie for a few hours while I rested. What was meant to be a brief visit turned into an afternoon I hadn't planned for. And when Sophie came home, she had a small golden bracelet on her wrist, a family heirloom passed down through generations. Margaret claimed it was tradition, a symbol of belonging, but it was a decision made without my consent, a small but profound reminder that control was already being wrested away from me. I confronted Daniel, hoping for support, but his response was cautious. "She means well, Claire. It's just her way." But I saw the doubt flicker in his eyes, the conflict between his love for his mother and his loyalty to me. That evening, I found myself locked in our bedroom, tears streaming down my face, calling my sister in desperation. When Daniel knocked and asked me to stop making a scene, I realized how isolated I had become in my own home. I told him then, "Margaret is crossing every boundary, Daniel. This isn't just tradition. This is control. If you can't stand up to her, I will have to take Sophie somewhere safe, with my parents, until you decide where your loyalties lie." Daniel promised he would talk to his mother. The conversation happened over lunch at a quiet cafe, but when he returned, his face was drained, and the words he said next chilled me. "She cried," he said. "She feels unappreciated. She's only trying to help." Promises were made. Margaret would call before visiting, would respect our choices, would not interfere in Sophie's care without permission. For 2 weeks it seemed she kept her word. She brought thoughtful gifts, praised my mothering in front of Daniel, even asked for my advice on some things. But as soon as Daniel was at work, the mask slipped. Margaret would criticize everything, from my appearance to how I soothed Sophie. "You really should make more effort now that you're part of this family," she whispered once, her tone venomous. She questioned my decisions openly, made appointments for Sophie without consulting me, and gradually, the safe space I had tried to build for my daughter began to crumble. One afternoon, I came home early from the grocery store to find Margaret showing our living room to an interior designer. "This house needs the Bennett touch before Sophie starts noticing her surroundings," she said, brushing off my shock with a dismissive wave. Daniel agreed, casually mentioning renovations that I hadn't been part of discussing. A week later, over dinner at Margaret's estate, she made a proposal that froze me in place. "Why don't you move into the guest house on the property?" she suggested, swirling her wine. "It's practical. You'd save on rent. Sophie would be close to family, and of course, I could help." Help, I realized, meant more control. Daniel didn't immediately refuse. Instead, he asked about the renovations needed, his tone cautious. That night, a call from a close friend who worked at the family court sent a shiver down my spine. "I shouldn't say anything," she whispered, but Margaret's been asking about grandparents' visitation rights if the parents are deemed unfit. I confronted Daniel immediately. For the first time, I saw real fear in his eyes. He called Margaret on speakerphone, demanding an explanation. Her response was masterful manipulation. "I'm only exploring options," she said sweetly. "I worry about Sophie's well-being. As her grandmother, I have responsibilities." Daniel arranged another meeting, but by the time they spoke again, his resolve had softened. Margaret had sent daily messages claiming hurt and confusion, even bringing other family members to call Daniel, pleading for peace. His second confrontation ended with an apology to her for the misunderstanding. "She's trying, Claire," he said when he came home. "We need to meet her halfway." I felt myself slipping further into isolation. Friends drifted away during my maternity leave. Daniel worked longer hours, avoiding the growing tension. Margaret subtly alienated me, undermining me wherever she could. At her 70th birthday party, the facade finally dropped. Surrounded by crystal chandeliers and marble floors, Margaret publicly declared that Sophie's inheritance would be secured in a trust, managed solely by Daniel, to protect the family legacy. Her words cut deep, each syllable a reminder that no matter how much love Daniel and I shared, I would always be the outsider. I left the party early, tears blurring the world around me, but with a new determination forming inside. This was my family now, and I would fight to protect it on my terms. If this story touched a part of your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear they're not alone. Join me as we continue exploring what it really means to find home, healing, and honesty, even when it's not easy. Until next time, take care of yourself and your truth.